Hey, top of the morning, everybody. Welcome to The Sweat, presented by DraftKings. I am your host, Emerson Latzia, surrounded by three dudes. Julian Edlow of DraftKings, Steve Buchanan of DraftKings, VSiN's Josh Applebaum. Look at us. We are
full
family
just
some dudes
again.
talking sports betting, you know?
Yeah, that's all it is. And we're going to be doing a lot of that here in the next 2 hours, 2 full hours of the good stuff, including best bets and can't miss games around college football. We got 4 teams, 8 wins away now from a World Series title, plus big-time takeaways from the first week of the NHL season. But let's get cooking around the NFL. Let's overreact here a little bit with our hangover segment. And the Broncos looking wicked hungover against the Chiefs on Thursday night. Mahomes now improving to 12-0 all-time against Denver. However, facing a Broncos team that's allowing the most points and yards per game, Chiefs offense continues to lack that explosiveness. Bukes, how much trouble could these guys be in, especially against, you look at their schedule, upcoming opponents like the Dolphins, Eagles, and Bills?
Yeah, they got a lot of high-powered offenses that they're going to be facing in the next upcoming weeks or so. But what really is the big thing for me is that this team is struggling in the red zone. They've only scored a touchdown in 54% of their red zone drives. Just to kind of put that into perspective, last year they ended the year at 71%. So that's like a number that they were consistently hitting there. That puts them 17th in the league between the Colts and the Panthers. That's how much success that they're having in the red zone at this time. Miami's first in the league, 76% at this point. They're dropping a lot of balls, too. The Chiefs have 10 drops amongst their receivers there. That's the top 5 in the league right now. But there's just a lot of stuff that's not glaring, but they're definitely not the high-powered Chiefs offense I think we've been accustomed to over the years past, at least for the first 6 weeks of the season.
What do you think here, Josh? Chiefs managed only 389 yards of total offense. They finished 4 of 13 on third down, 1 of 5 in the red zone.
Yeah, you're definitely worried a little bit about this offense here. Obviously, Kelsey has dealt with a lot of issues with injuries and things like that. You have a lot of young receivers you're still trying to bring into the system. I look at their updated win total, guys. They're 5-1 now. Their win total is 12.5. It is juiced up a little bit under -120, but if you go through that schedule, I think there could be value to taking even money on the over 12.5 to win 13 games. I know they do have a tough schedule. You have Miami, you have Philadelphia, you're going to play Cincy later in the year, you're going to play Buffalo, but a bunch of those games are at home. So I think there's value to get 13 wins or more. Just one quick comment on that Thursday night game. Two things. One, the importance of the number. I mean, that was 10.5, 11. It was back and forth. What happens? Chiefs end up winning by 11, covering the number. The public continues to rake. It's been a very weird year here with teams getting majority bets, covering like almost 60% of the time. And also windy unders. Keep an eye out for the weather. The weather's going to be an issue. Steve's favorite system is windy unders, but we did see it cash on Thursday night. That was 51.5 down to 47.5. When the wind blows 10 miles per hour or more, Emerson, the under 64% since 2021.
Why are you rolling your eyes over there?
No one gives a crap about when the wind is blowing 10-plus miles an hour and then take that into account.
What's the little things on the top of the goalposts are just flailing? It's harder to kick.
Yeah, if it's like 20 miles an hour, fine. 10 miles an hour, you don't even notice it when it's happening.
Perfect time to remind everybody tomorrow's show is going to be electric when we talk windy unders, baby, on a Sunday edition of The Sweat. Jules, why did the Chiefs feel like they needed to break out these trick plays to beat Denver here?
It's probably the wind, right?
Yeah,
I mean, there were several head-scratching moments and calls by Andy Reid, including the fake field goal tush-push that failed miserably.
I did like that, though.
Yeah, it wasn't the wind, but I think that we have touched on the reasons why. The lack of success for the Chiefs so far, both in the red zone and on third downs. That's a little different for this team, and it is early. I have faith that they will figure it out. They figured it out last year. Some of it probably has to do with Travis Kelce being dinged up. He started the season, didn't play because of that injury right before the first Thursday night game against the Lions. Then he injures the ankle, still plays on a short week, and actually played really well this week. But overall, it's been a slow start for Kelce, and who's your red zone guy? Who's your third down guy? That's where Mahomes wants to go with the ball. So I think this offense will smooth it out, figure it out as the season goes on. They've just played a Thursday game, so they're going to have some time to iron things out, get a little healthier. The Chiefs have earned the respect for us to kind of trust that they will figure it out. If this is still a problem in November, December, then maybe we can start to talk about what needs to change in Kansas City.
I mean, Josh, for Denver, if it's not the defense, it's the offense. The Broncos keep finding these new ways to lose. Is it an overreaction here to say that their issues run so deep that we will not see this thing actually come together at all this year?
I don't think it's an overreaction. I think that looks like reality at this point. You're 1-5. Finally, your defense plays decent. Yeah, your offense can't get anything going. Russell Wilson's looked good all year. Then he makes a bunch of mistakes. This is a team that we're going to get to in a second here, the trade deadline. They could be selling. They've already gotten rid of Frank Clark. He could be going back to the Chiefs. You already saw them get rid of Randy Gregory. Do they deal Jerry Jeudy? I think if you're Sean Payton, this is a long-term fix here. So I think in year one, even if you have a bad year, get a top pick. I know you have a lot of money tied to Russell Wilson, but their win total right now, it's 4.5. Now, it is over -140, but to me, it's a team that when things spiral, get worse, look to bet against. I'm not really high on the Broncos. I think they want to maybe have a poor year and get a high pick.
Okay, Jules, falling to 1-5, Broncos are now off to their worst start since 1994. What signs have you seen that they can actually turn this around?
They can't. This isn't what Sean Payton signed up for, but this team is not it. This team's not going to get it done. I believed that not the coaching change, but just the overall, their inability in close games last year, how many they lost, would revert a little this year. Like we've seen like with the Vikings, who were so good last year and have now kind of come undone. I thought it would go the other way. I was on the Broncos over 8.5 wins this season. I would lean under on the 4.5 because they have proven so incapable, and I know it's juiced to the over. I just think you get to a certain point and you're playing in that tough division where it's more beneficial to lose games and try and figure out that rebuild. So not actually betting the win total, but in terms of confidence in them flipping the season around, it is 0 for me.
Not Jules, but Steve, how much more credit does Drew Brees actually deserve for carrying Sean Payton? Now, you look back at their tenure together in New Orleans.
Drew Brees and Tom Brady are both looking very good these days.
Yeah, no, without
Right?
a doubt. But, I mean, to be fair, too, like, it hasn't been Wilson except for last week. Like, if you look at his stats throughout the year, Russell Wilson in passer rating, he's 8th in the league at 99. He's 8th in passing yards. He's 2nd in passing touchdowns in the league. It doesn't feel like it, but he's got 12 on the year. He's only 1 behind Kirk Cousins at this point. But then you look at the teams that they're going to be facing over the next month and a half or so. Packers, Chiefs, Bills, Vikings, Browns. What's that? 1-4
Yep.
if they're lucky.
Probably.
I don't even know if there's a win in there. Like maybe the Browns, if depending on their quarterback situation. But like that easily could be 0-5 there, unless they can pull something out against the Packers. But it's been when the defense actually finally plays well, then Russell Wilson has like the worst game of the season thus far. So nothing has been clicking for this team, and it always just it's going to feel like either one day the offense is going to be great and the defense won't, or the defense is going to be great and the offense won't. That's just how this season has gone, and it doesn't look like it's going to change, especially with that schedule coming up.
Okay, things are clicking for the Colts. I know Anthony Richardson, Jules, is going to be out like the next 4 weeks here, but they're hanging around this crowded AFC South. Gardner Minshew is going to get the start again for at least the next 4 weeks. If he gets a few wins, including tomorrow against the Jags, what is your move when Richardson returns and he's healthy?
Well, first of all, we have to preface this by saying if Richardson returns, because you mentioned at least 4 weeks. From a lot of the stuff we're hearing, this could be threaten Anthony Richardson's season.
Okay.
And if it doesn't, if he gets healthy in December, what do you do? It kind of depends on your record. I would say if it's that late and Minshew's doing well, you probably ease Richardson back in. Maybe you can give him his own packages. He's that type of quarterback, wildcat running type of packages. But Richardson's been good. He led the league in explosive plays. This offense is tailor-made to be built around his explosive athleticism. So if it is only 4 weeks and you got a 4th pick invested in this guy, you probably go back to him unless Gardner Minshew is really taking you to another level. If it goes the other way and we're looking at 8 weeks, it's a much harder decision because then you're into a groove with Minshew and you got to question Richardson's health. So you really got to play this one in terms of it's all about how long Anthony Richardson is going to be back in, and we don't have that answer.
All right, what's the move here?
Yeah, so I think the move, and I know you don't want to hear this, Emerson, one would be looking toward tomorrow, taking the Colts. I mean, they have a good sharp line move. They're 5.5 down to 4. You're a big Jags fan,
Thinking London hangover, is that why?
that could
or the
play a role
revenge
here.
narrative with
It
Minshew?
definitely could, and I also think, Shane Steichen is a guy maybe better should target. Steichen for Coach of the Year, he's now at this point plus 1,200. He's not the favorite. Dan Campbell is maybe going to win this thing if he continues to bring the Lions to a really good record here. But I'm really impressed with Steichen and what he's done with this Colts team. Their win total now is 7.5. It's over -140. So can they win 8 games? You have Gardner Minshew that can step in. Richardson's obviously your long-term play, but Minshew is a more than capable backup. And if you look at this schedule, for the Colts. Tough game against the Jags, division game tomorrow. But then they're at home against Cleveland. Is Deshaun Watson going to be hurt for that? New Orleans, question mark. Carolina, New England. You have a lot of bad teams ahead on the schedule. I think this could be a Colts team that, again, I don't know how they're doing it, but they're playing well, and Steichen deserves a lot of credit.
There's another dude who hit IR this week, Steve. That's Justin Jefferson. A huge blow for the Vikings. How much worse is it about to get for 1-4 Minnesota?
It's going to be tough because obviously you look at the numbers that Justin Jefferson accounted for when he was on the field. 27% of their total target share, 37% of their total air yards on the year. And that is like now you're going to have Jordan Addison, KJ Osborne, but I think this is actually good for TJ Hawkinson. 7.8 targets per game for Hawkinson already, 51 receiving yards, 2 touchdowns already scored for Hawkinson on the year. I think this actually is going to open up more for him to go along with Jordan Addison, who's a little banged up right now, and KJ Osborne.
All right, really quick here, Jules. Are we just going to be taking unders now with this Vikings offense?
No, not necessarily taking unders.
Okay.
They're still capable. They're still going to move at that pace, but Jefferson takes an element away from them. I'm looking overs, like Steve mentioned. TJ Hawkinson, 53.5. Jordan Addison, 53.5
yeah.
in terms of yardage this week against the Bears.
Okay.
Like those guys at depressed numbers that are about half of what Jefferson was, being over 100, that's where I'm looking.
All right, I think a lot of people are looking at overs for this game today between Oregon and Washington. Game of the day, baby. Which odds look tasty? And the Heisman implications on the line with Bo Nix and Michael Penix Jr. collide this afternoon. Back here on a Saturday edition of The Sweat, where we are talking biggest games on this college football slate. Right now at the top, number 8 Oregon facing number 7 Washington. This is a rematch, Jules, of last year's 37-34 thriller. And there are Heisman Trophy, there are Pac-12, and there are college football playoff implications on the line. It sounds like both teams are ready to rock and know what is on the line.
You want to figure out how good you are, you get to go against great teams. I mean, this is obviously a really good offensive team. There's going to be some highs and lows in this game, but our ability to play well is going to be a big impact on that.
Dan, you mentioned on Monday that you wanted your team to be the calm in the storm. And how do you go about doing that throughout the week?
Create chaos during the week, right? Create the chaos during the week and try to make practice harder than the game. So our guys have accepted that challenge. They've done a good job. We want to be the group that runs into it.
The thing for us is we wanted to make sure this weekend was big, and so I'm proud of the way the guys have every week gone about taking care of business. And you saw this as hopefully inevitable that it came to this point. Just a lot of respect for what Oregon's doing with their season too. So happy that this is a big week because we've done everything to make it that. If we slip up anywhere along the way, it wouldn't be what it is. So excited for this opportunity. That's what it is. It's a challenge, but it's an opportunity. That's what our guys came here to do, is be a part of games like this and moments like this and build the program to this point. And so, embracing it is how we look at it.
Is there any concern about making it too big? Because you've got a lot of big games after this one. You don't want to make this one kind of for everything.
Yeah, we always say the next game is the most important one because that's what it is. It's the next game, and so we'll put everything into it. But I feel like we put everything into every other game too, and so I don't think I'm worried about our guys. They need to prepare. And we've talked about elevating our preparation, and we've talked about the standard that we have, and certainly guys are going to be at that this week in preparation for the game.
All right, Penix Jr. in the Heisman race, the favorite right now, plus 210 on the DK Sportsbook. There's Caleb Williams. And then Bo Nix at plus 600. How much movement could we see for Nix if Oregon gets the win here?
I don't think a ton necessarily. I don't think that Nix will ultimately win it. Now, if Oregon wins this game and Nix plays well, it'll help his odds. That's just how it works. But I think that there's still your Caleb Williams, your Michael Penix, guys that are higher on the board that will still remain higher on the board. Now, who can help himself the most is Penix. If Penix plays well and wins this game, he can move ahead further as the favorite. So, yes, whoever wins this game, that quarterback is going to rise in terms of the odds. But Penix can really create some separation here as the favorite, whereas Nix can only close the gap a little bit on an award that he's still kind of going to be working from behind on. But still, you see, third in the odds right there, and we got 3 Pac-12 quarterbacks at the top.
I mean, Penix could pick apart the Ducks like he did last year. That would force Nix to play catch-up, with this counterpart here, which may lead to both players putting up a performance worthy of being the Heisman Trophy favorite here. But it's not like, when you look at the defensive side of the ball, like, Oregon is a pushover. I mean, hell, Washington really isn't either. It's tough to give a big edge. I guess, how tough is it to give an edge to either team here when we try to decide how this thing's going to play out?
I know Oregon's averaging more points per game. I think Washington ultimately does have a little bit more dangerous of an offense. A lot of that has to do with who you've played. A lot of that has to do with hanging 81 on Portland State in week 1 for Oregon. That'll boost your numbers a little bit. Not that Washington hasn't played some easier games as well, but I think Washington has a better offense. I think they're at home, and that's going to help them break this Ducks defense a little bit. I think Oregon does have the better defense between the two. Washington, I do like Washington's ability to force turnovers, something Oregon has barely done this year. So if they can get a little rattled in the road atmosphere and Washington's defense gets some turnovers, that would be huge in this game. I don't think we're going to see quite the shootout that we did last year. I think it'll even out a little bit more. But I would give Oregon the slight advantage defensively and Washington the slight advantage on offense.
All right, for this game, what is atop your betting card?
I played Washington early in the week. I got the 2.5. I got the 140. Now we're seeing this push to 3.5. It's still 3 on DK Sportsbook. If I like 2.5, I'm comfortable doing the 3. Hopefully you don't push. And I expect it to be 3.5 by kick. So it's Washington for me. I just think there's nothing glaring, a lot of small edges in Washington's favor, which ultimately you snowball those up with them having home field, I think that they're going to get this one done. I trust Michael Penix more than I trust Bo Nix, particularly with Penix at home and Nix on the road.
All right, quickly here. What kind of shot you giving the loser at making the playoff?
A slight one, but it's really hard in the Pac-12. We're probably only going to have one Pac-12 team get in. They all have to play hard schedules. They're going to cannibalize each other. So the loser is going to have one loss. They're going to have to win out the rest of the way if you lose this game.
All right, well, the Fighting Irish likely have no path back to the college football playoff themselves, but would be more than happy to derail UFC's title pursuit. Fourth straight primetime game for Notre Dame. Here's what both sides are saying.
We can't let others make excuses for us. And it's my job to make sure this team is ready to perform on the stage that being a part of the Notre Dame football program presents. And every week it's going to present this stage and this opportunity, and I have to make sure this team is ready to go. And so the best thing about this week is we got to get back to work and get prepared for a great opponent in USC coming in here Saturday night. We expect it to be an electric atmosphere, a great environment, and a great opportunity for this program to use the adversity we faced from this past week and to use it as energy and motivation to get back to work and to prepare for this great opponent in USC. So, as I told the staff, if you're an elite competitor, which I know I am and we are, that you don't pick and choose, when you get ready for an opponent. And you have to continue to get ready the way we're supposed to, even after a loss. And I know our staff will, and we've been doing it, and we'll continue to do it as we prepare for this game.
They're a good team. You're playing a good team at their place. I mean, it's they're a complete team. They're very experienced in a lot of key areas, and they've played in some big games already. I mean, it's a good football team, well-coached football team. And then I think in terms of the kind of the intangible side of it, I think it's, you got to handle all parts of this. You got to handle, we've talked a lot about the road. You got to handle the intensity and embrace the intensity and excitement of this game and still settle in and go play great ball. You got to handle the elements and whatever the weather does present. I mean, there'll be a lot of another fun, unique challenges. But again, I mean, that's rivalry game. It's what it should be like. It's two good football teams. It'll be a fun environment. And our guys are very, very excited to go play.
All right, what would a great performance do for Caleb Williams' Heisman odds? So this meeting last year, 257 total yards, 4 touchdowns.
Yeah, it would do a lot, particularly if Washington were to lose. Now, I'm on Washington. That's not the result I'm hoping for, but these things are going to work together. Obviously, you need guys that you're betting on to do well, and you need the other guys to have poor outings. But a win here would help Caleb Williams. It's going to depend what the win looks like. He needs some offense, but that hasn't been the problem for USC all year. It's been the defense. So if he's able to get this road win Saturday night primetime, their toughest opponent so far by a wide margin, it would go a long way.
But the closing stretch of their schedule is just ridiculous. I mean, the key to that win for the Trojans last year, +2 in turnover margin. Sam Hartman had 3 interceptions in that upset loss against Louisville. What happens if they can pull off the upset here? How big of a move can Hartman make on the odds boards for Heisman?
We'll make this one quick. His odds will move, but Hartman's not winning the award, so don't waste your money there.
Okay, Notre Dame with basically a season-altering loss last week, as we mentioned. They're favored at home to bounce back. How do you see them responding, though?
I see them responding well. It's been a really weird schedule for Notre Dame. They should have beat Ohio State at home. They let that fall apart in embarrassing fashion. They should have lost to Duke on the road. They pull that one out of nowhere and get the win. And then it all comes spiraling. They fall flat on their second straight ACC road game and get embarrassed by Louisville. Now you're coming home, bounce back spot, Saturday night. Slowing Caleb Williams is going to be tough, but Notre Dame has good corners.
Okay.
They're in Notre Dame's building on Saturday night. It's going to be a little chilly, a little rainy maybe, a little windy. Those are not USC conditions. And Notre Dame can run the ball. So I think Notre Dame can come out strong in this game, and we'll see how it winds up going.
Yeah, we saw in practice this week, coaches were spraying
Spraying hoses on them catching punts.
Yes, yeah. We'll see if
Deal with that.
We'll see if that works. Yeah, Trojans have scored 40 points in each of their first 6 wins this year, but they've given up at least 28 points in 4 of those contests. It's the start of a 6-game gauntlet for USC here to close out the season. Would a win give you more confidence in them being able to hang down the stretch with some of these beasts that await?
I guess like they have to win the games to get in. They can only drop one, most likely. That's how this works, and I don't see that happening. I think that Notre Dame is going to win this game. That's my personal opinion. So there's one, and then another one will be there. But even if they don't, down the stretch with the defense USC has, I don't see them winning 11 games and getting to the Pac-12 championship game.
All right, Jules, it's time to reward all of your hard work by giving you the next segment off. Steve is back with some MLB picks. You are very welcome. There are 4 teams remaining. Which ones he likes to advance to the World Series next?
I can hear it. I can hear your shots.
Are we rolling? You got audio and Okay.
This is where you asked me about the Red Sox.
Yeah, no, this is when I ask you.
Ooh.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's better than any shot he ever had in a Red Sox uniform, right?
Love to see it. All right, we in the game, Lou. We in the game, man.
2 moments in Lou Merloni's life. Hitting a home run in his first at bat at Fenway and that shot right there.
I hit a golf ball farther than hit a baseball.
Yeah, can we get my guy like a bucket of range balls? That is 3 balls lost on the first hole before you hit the green.
Where is it?
We're backing them up already. Look at this, there's 2 groups back there.
That sucked.
What is worse, the current state of the Red Sox or what we're about to witness?
It's so natural.
Okay, have a little faith, okay?
Now, distance, I don't know if that's.
What's Emerson gonna say when I bury this?
Look at that, see?
Ah! Nice putt.
Big break, big break.
Who do you want to see win the World Series?
Philadelphia.
Why?
Because they're the most entertaining team. I take that back. I take it back.
Why? All right, take it back then. Now tell me why you're taking it back.
I take it back because there's only one player on one team that I co-authored a book with, and that's Joe Kelly.
Yeah, friend of the program, friend of DraftKings.
Friend of
Joe Kelly.
Yeah, friend of the program. Favorite interview that we did on the book tour.
Joe asks me for my autograph now. I'm about to Bryce Harper this for
All
you.
right, okay.
Philly fanatic.
Can you do a bat flip after?
No.
Ooh, there you go.
Got a cut. Oh, that looks good, Lou.
Who was that the first time?
There you go.
I mean, see, you just go up there, no nothing in your mind.
Bradfo went with the Phillies.
Well, yeah.
With who
no.
he wants. Well, no, you took it back.
I took it back.
So you're going Dodgers now.
Just because of my own selfish financial gain.
Yeah, true, which I respect. What about you?
Dodgers.
Who do you want to see win the World Series?
Oh, see, that's 2 different questions.
Yeah.
Because I think Astros are going to.
You think Astros going to win, but then you don't want them to win.
No.
Who do you want to see?
Well, you know, hold on now.
Here we go.
Here's the thing. Because I already got money on DraftKings on Houston.
Yeah,
no,
love it.
just kidding.
That's why we love you, Lou.
No, Houston to win the AL.
Okay.
I think, but I don't see how the Braves lose. I still don't, whatever. I know they're in a bad spot, but I still think they're the best team.
Yeah, best team doesn't always win.
Houston, Atlanta. Atlanta wins.
That's true. We've seen
I
the Red
agree,
Sox
especially with this new format. Because this new format, everything.
Yeah.
Like it actually hurts the teams with buys.
You don't like this 2-game or the 3-game wild card series?
No, it's like
They haven't been competitive.
You
past
sit
2
for
years.
5 or 6 days. You start your race.
Yeah.
But your team's not really ready to play. You lose game 1. You lose your ace.
Yeah.
And now the other team's got their 1 and 2 sitting on your neck.
So what do you want to see, Lou? You want them to go back to a 1-game wild card?
I think I do.
Me too. Look at
It's
this.
more exciting.
1-game wild card, huh? I hate it. I love a series.
Yeah, so earlier this week I was at a TPC Boston with some dudes who were part of the Red Sox media. Rob Bradford's Phillies wish coming true, Stephen, but his wallet is not benefiting with that embarrassing Dodgers defeat. Former Sox player Lou Merloni, like the rest of us, are shocked that the Braves went out in 4 games. Let's break down what is to come now with 4 teams remaining, Buke. So these playoffs have been defined by upsets, and it's the second year in a row the Phillies have reached this point in the season while winning 90 games or fewer. How have they been able to do it?
Well, I mean, let's just take a look at that series, right? And let's just kind of break down what happened here.
A lot of drama.
I mean, the Braves were getting nothing from their offense. And if you're not hitting in the playoffs, like, you're not going to advance. Like, even if your pitching is good. Like, Michael Harris, one of their best rookies, went 0 for 13 in that series. Ronald Acuna Jr. went 2 for 14. Matt Olson was 2 for 16. You're not going to win if your best hitters are not performing there. You look at the Phillies. They had 10 home runs in that series. 4 different players were hitting at least .417 in that 4-game series, and their rotation did their part. Their rotation covered 20 2/3 innings during that whole series there, allowing just 6 runs and striking out 25. Bullpen gave up 2 total runs in that series. Everything was clicking for Philly. Everything was going awry for the Braves at this point, and that's what happens in those short series. Like, you can't afford these little mini slumps because that's what happens, and teams like that go out. Happened to the Dodgers, happened to the Braves, and then here we are.
And then the Orlando Arcia drama just gifting Philly more motivation there. The hell happened to the Dodgers, though?
Yeah,
like, it feels like the D-backs here, just like this reminder that you can't simply look at a regular season record and measure the quality of a team, right?
And we said it on this show, too. I said, I think the Diamondbacks are very much live in this series. And the biggest reason is because their rotation was always an issue, but it was always overmasked because of how good their offense was. And then you look at how this series played out. There is not one individual pitcher in that entire series that pitched more than 3 2/3 innings. And granted, this is only a 3-game series, but that's pretty eye-opening for a team that was, one of the best teams in the National League. And yet, Clayton Kershaw, Lance Lynn, and Bobby Miller, the 3 starters that pitched in this game, covered a combined 4 2/3 innings in the 3 starts that they made. Whereas the Diamondbacks rotation, 16 innings pitched, 2 total earned runs allowed, and those were both by Zach Gallen. So everything that could have went wrong for the Dodgers, they said they were going to have to rely heavily upon their bullpen. That was probably the plan, but it's not because all of their starters combined couldn't even register a quality start if you put all of their innings together. So I'm not surprised that Arizona advanced. Maybe not in the fashion that they did, but we knew that that rotation was going to be an issue, and it showed its ugly face in that short series.
How does Major League Baseball help these teams or ensure, does there need to be a change with these teams who have won like 100+ games? They come in, they get swept, they're out, because you know that these TV networks may not be very happy losing some of these big dog markets.
Listen, the way I look at it is like, so everybody is trying to fix this playoff system now. They say maybe we go back to the 1-game wild card, 1 day off, and then it's a 7-game series in the divisional series. So you're still getting the same amount of games. If you are one of the top seeds and your whole chemistry, your everything that you play for, everything that you've done in the year is interrupted or canceled because you have 3 days off, then maybe you shouldn't be there to begin with.
Okay.
You need to figure out how you can stay fresh and game ready during those off days because you are the top seed for a reason. You earned your right to have these buys and get prepared for these games. And then you come in here and you're going to lay an egg every single time. Like, yeah, it's a little eye-opening that some of these top seeds are out so early. But again, if you have been so good all season long and a 3-day layoff is going to screw up everything, maybe you're not ready to be here.
So do you agree or disagree with Lou Merloni that he wants to go back just to the 1-game wild card throwdown?
So at least how this wild card series played out, it was boring. They were all sweeps. It was not entertaining. Like, there was nothing entertaining about it. And some of the mismatches that we had in, like I said, like I had the Marlins had no business being there, right? Like, there's no reason for them to be there. So I don't mind the 1 and done because it's exciting and it's a good product. I don't mind going back to that, but I would still keep it the rest as it is. 5 games in the division series and then 7 games in the championship and the World Series. I do think that's still the way to go.
Almost every series we've seen so far, as we've mentioned, it's been complete domination by one team. No chance Astros-Rangers ends that way in the ALCS, does it?
No, I don't think so. And I think one of my favorite plays for this is to take over 6.5 games. And that's at plus 200 right now. I think this is going to go the distance here. The Astros were 9-4 against the Rangers during the regular season here. But here's the thing that really gets my attention. The Astros do not play well at home. Home field advantage has not been their thing. At home this season, 39-42 at home. Just to put that into perspective, last year they were 55-26 at home. And I worry about that rotation. Verlander, Javier, Valdez, or Urquidy, that is not a strong rotation for the Astros at this point. We already saw Valdez get lit up by the Twins. 5 earned runs on 7 hits through 4 1/3 innings. I like this game to go 7, so I'm taking over 6.5 games at plus 200.
I mean, Texas hasn't lost this postseason, which has been impressive. So right now, a World Series bet, 4 teams standing. What would you pick?
I have 2, so I'll have 2 plays here.
Okay.
I do like the Phillies to win it all. I do think that is just the most complete team at this point. They're at plus 210 to win the World Series. I do like that there.
Feels like the baseball gods have just so clearly chosen their favorite.
And then to take that even further, Phillies to beat the Astros at plus 425 is another play I like as well. I do think the Astros will make it. I think it's going to go 7, but I do think they're going to make it here. But I do think the Phillies, they're just the team right now at plus 210.
Okay.
Everybody's really close together. The Diamondbacks all the way plus 475. This is pretty close with the 4 teams remaining, but I do think Philly's going to take it in the end.
All right, just very quickly, anyone in the MVP department?
I mean, it's too early right now to really think about that, but if the Phillies do win, I think Zach Wheeler is your MVP.
All right, good stuff, Steven. Coming up, how the betting system's here on DraftKings.
Fantastic.
This is great.
Can't wait
tomorrow
for
it's
this.
going to be electric with you and Josh, but right now it's going to
Yeah.
be Jules and Josh. How the betting system on DraftKings Sportsbook feel about Notre Dame's chances against USC and if our guys are buying into it.
I hope it's not windy.
Back here on The Sweat, where we are all systems go. So we had a lot of discussion last week, Jules and Josh, about certain betting systems and situations that yield positive results. Like last week, Josh, sticking with the system here of UCLA, the home favorite, while the ranked road team, Washington State, pulled in a lot of public money, right? And bets. Julian, riding the Wazoo vibes.
I'm seeing this now in the script. I didn't go with Wazoo. When did this happen?
No, sorry,
Wasn't even
dude.
here last
it's
week.
on tape. I trust producer Drew. You are a liar. So the good news is for you, Jules, it's a new week. Notre Dame.
I had a great week last week.
The home
Game
favorite.
wasn't even on my card.
Jules, calm down.
All right, I'll try.
Week. Notre Dame is the home favorite
Dig up
with
the
a lot
tape.
of the public bets coming in here, guys. A lot of public bets coming in on the Trojans. So we are sticking with the system here and going with the Irish, Jules. System likes the Irish. Public likes USC.
I agree with the system. I get why USC is so scary. The offense, if this turns into a shootout, USC is going to win. But I think that this is going to be the toughest road bump for USC. They've played pretty mild competition and struggled with it at times, particularly last week against Arizona, the Colorado game, the Arizona State game. So go on the road Saturday night, rowdy atmosphere. Weather's going to be not USC weather. We'll just put it that way because we don't want to get too deep into weather on this show. But Notre Dame is in a bounce-back spot off the loss to Louisville. They've had a really tough schedule. They're coming into the bye, so it's like you're kind of limping to the finish line. But I think Notre Dame has one more in them. They owe it to the home crowd after the way the Ohio State game ended. I think just the simple handicap on this game is that USC's defense is trash, and I trust Notre Dame to be able to move the ball ultimately and get a couple stops.
I saw the excitement in your face when he said he was sticking with the system. So
you always got to stick with the system, Emerson. Yeah, you got to dance with the one who brung you. So a couple things go on. Real quick, I just want to mention one thing. Trends versus systems. You're going to hear a lot of back and forth here. Trends can be good, they can be bad, but I think trends are more team specific. Systems, to me, why they're so meaningful and why I like them is that if you can find a good angle, it doesn't really matter what teams are playing as long as they fit the criteria and they are in a historically profitable spot. I play them every time. So, for example, this Notre Dame system would be a couple things going on. One, fade the trendy dog. The public loves betting favorites. If you're going to put your hard-earned money down on a game, you're going to want to bet the better team. It's a safer pick. Psychologically, it's an easier bet to make. However, when the public loads up on a dog, that dog becomes popular. They become trendy. Therefore, I want to bet against those dogs. So that's what you're seeing here. USC is a trendy dog. They're getting around 60% of bets. But what's the line doing? The line is moving to Notre Dame. Notre Dame, this was like a pick'em type game. Now it's up to Notre Dame -2.5. It's juiced up like it may even go to -3. So just from the standpoint of public system-driven, public on the dog, yet the line moving to the contrarian favorite, I got to take the contrarian favorite here. Also, guys, another system, straight up here would be when two ranked teams play each other, just take the favorite. Very simple, but it's 7-1 ATS if it's a home team. And here's what I like on the money line. I'm not going to mess around, Emerson or Julian, laying a 2.5, winning by 1 or 2. Odds makers are already telling you it's going to be a tight game. So let's just go money line here. Lay it on the money line. When you have two ranked teams, take the home favorite straight up. Since 2016, those teams are 138 and 32, 81%. With a pretty good ROI. So again, I think there's a great opportunity to bet against USC, to take the Irish, and that will be a fade the trendy dog system match on Notre Dame.
All right, another system, bets versus handle splits here. For Oregon, Washington, public bets are on Oregon +3. Maybe it's those cool uniforms. Maybe it's the people hoping for an upset here. So I was thinking about the uniforms and how it looks like cookies and cream.
Thinking about them for a while. It does look like
I really was. So maybe it's the people hoping for an upset. People are betting on the Ducks, but more handle here. More money is on the Huskies, indicating that bigger bets are on Washington. What do you want to follow here?
I think that the Huskies are going to be eating up that cookies and cream on the field
So
today.
good.
Hopefully they eat the ice cream after the game and not before. But I think we're going to see 3.5 here before this game kicks off. And that's great because I'm on the Washington side, as I went through earlier on the show. But quick recap, really good teams. Oregon's really good. I think Oregon's maybe more of the public team because of the overall history of success that they have, and recent success too. They've been really good. Washington's kind of new to the scene. People are a little less familiar. We know all these Pac-12 games, maybe they get less eyes because they're kicking off so late. People have familiarity with Oregon, not as much with Washington. And I give the edge defensively slightly to Oregon, but being on the road, what it comes back to, these teams haven't played too stiff a competition yet. Once Oregon has been in a tough spot, and it goes back to week 2 at Texas Tech. I had Texas Tech +7. It landed on 8. It was one of the bad beats of the season. Texas Tech was up double digits at time in that game. Texas Tech was driving with the ball down 1 with a chance to win before that interception returned, went the other way for the bad beat. So I need to see Oregon go on the road now in a much tougher environment against a much better team and pull this off. I think Washington has a lot of edges offensively. I trust Penix over Nix, and that's why I think the Huskies get it done.
Josh, what side are you on here?
I'm the same with Julian here. I love this play. I think if you like Notre Dame, you really like Washington in this spot. It's another fade the trendy dog opportunity and really good bet split as well. I think you're kind of incorporating all the things I look for when I'm trying to make a bet. So first off, most heavily bet game of the day. Where's the public? If you want to go contrarian and bet against the public, you want to go to the games with the most public action. So public's on Oregon here, 62% of bets. Yet, if you look at the bet split for Washington, only 38% bets, but they're taking into account almost 60% of the money. So when you're using that VSiN.com bet splits coming from DraftKings, easiest thing you can do is just look for any team or side or total in which you're getting at least 10% more money than bets. Now, does that mean every single 10% discrepancy wins? No, but it's just a quick, easy, dirty kind of just confirmation there that the bigger, sharper wagers are in that team's favor. So the fact that the fact that Washington's only getting a third of bets, but almost 2/3 of the money tells me smart money is on Washington. Also, we've seen this line move toward Washington. They open as low as -1.5. You're all the way up to 3. I think Julian's right. This thing may get to 3.5 before it's all said and done. Also, like Emerson, betting a team who didn't cover versus a team that did. Because if you look at last week, you had Oregon beat Stanford. They rolled. They covered that number. Washington barely got by Arizona. They were favored by 20. They only won by 7. So you still have that same system match. 2 ranked teams take the home favorite, 81% since 2016. Better passing offense. I think it's a good opportunity to back Washington. And once again, I'm not going to lay points in a short spread. Miss kick, extra point, safety, something weird happens. Just win the game. Money line with the Huskies today.
And I know it's a lot of information, a lot of numbers we're throwing at you right now. So this is as simple as you could go on vsin.com and get all this, right, Josh?
Exactly. Bookmark it. vsin.com/splits. It'll end up being one of your favorite pages to visit.
All right, same situation, too, as we go to game totals here. Bets versus handle split. So Duke and NC State here, 44-point total. Public loves betting the over, especially at a relatively low number here. Jules, like 44, 77% of bets on that. But sharp money on the under, 81% of the money here. So again, which one you following?
Yeah, I'll go under here, and a lot of it has to do with accounting for injuries. Riley Leonard, last we saw him, Duke should have won that game, but because they didn't, they went back out on the field late to sling it. High ankle sprain, looked pretty bad. He's considered doubtful for this game. So sharper bettors are considering him out or have information that he is out. So Duke, pretty good defensively, pretty good running the ball. NC State, always been a team that banks on defense, runs the ball. This one goes from being a game that, maybe Riley Leonard's pushing the pace a little, although he's a running quarterback at times as well. But maybe some bigger plays through the air now taken off the board, or out of the playbook, I should say, from the Duke side. So this one should be a little bit of a grinder given the injury situation, and that's why I think we're seeing this money come in on the under.
Well, Josh, does this system stick for totals here? I know Kansas State and Texas Tech are in the same situation at 58 points.
Yeah, and I think what you're looking for, again, just remember this phrase, low bets, higher dollars. Another simple way to kind of interpret this data. It can be confusing. It can be a little bit overwhelming. But look at this K-State-Texas Tech game. Currently, you're getting 85% of bets on the over, but 79% of money is on the under. Again, what's going on there? That makes no sense. If you walk into a bar, 9 out of 10 people are sweating this over. Public is psychologically biased to wanting to bet overs because they want to root for points. It's much more fun, Emerson, to see touchdowns and action versus rooting for a low-scoring game. But you got to remember, the odds makers know this, so sometimes what they'll do is kind of shade these numbers a little bit higher, knowing that whether it opens, at 56 or 58, public will take the over regardless. But this, to me, is an opportunity to bet against the public, take the under. Conference game, kind of like NFL divisional matchups, that familiarity, the rivalry aspect. Sometimes you see these tighter, closer games. Then also, Emerson, if you're going to bet an under, I want teams that run the ball. Currently, you're averaging Kansas State 200 yards on the ground, 180 for Texas Tech. If you run it a lot, that means you're chewing up the clock. The clock is running throughout the game. That's a benefit to an under. So massive bet split here. I'd go under at this point.
Well, over on the DraftKings Sportsbook, we also have a boatload of systems there. And just like when we're talking teasers, like in the NFL, for example, like the Chiefs, now 6-0, Eagles, 49ers are all undefeated on 6-point teasers as expected there. So we're going to dive much more into the system side of things tomorrow on Sunday's show.
Stevie Systems.
That's right. Stevie Systems will be in the house. Maybe talk a little bit of wind. Who knows, Buke? Still ahead, we got more college football games to rip through, including Texas A&M and Jimbo Fisher looking to overcome their road woes versus Tennessee. Welcome back to a Saturday morning edition of The Sweat. Everybody, second hour kicking off here. We got tons of NHL talk coming up. We're going to get back to the NFL in just a moment, but college football before Jules and Josh start dishing out more picks here. Entering yesterday, a couple of the most bet games on the slate this week in college football. Stanford at Colorado, Tulane at Memphis. Tulane upsetting Memphis, and Stanford down 29-0 to Colorado at halftime, coming back. The Buffs crapping themselves in double overtime, and one of the largest upsets of the year we just witnessed. A lot of bettors out there not very happy about those results, but listen to these two gentlemen, and maybe more positive results will show up on your betting card. Take it away, dudes.
Yeah, we've been waiting for some of those flat spots for Colorado. It did not look like last night was going to be one. Josh and I both went to bed at 29-0, woke up, and bam! Stanford. Ridiculous. A receiver, by the way, I was just looking on Twitter, one of the Stanford receivers had 13 catches for 294 and 3 touchdowns in the second half.
And I'm sure you had him in fantasy,
game.
right, Julian?
I don't even know his name, but he played a really good game. I'll have to get that. Let's talk Saturday, Josh. We're going to start with Missouri, Kentucky, a game in the SEC. This is one of my smaller plays of the day, but I did play Kentucky money line here at -135. I've been advised by many, including on the Unreasonable Odds podcast, to watch out because Missouri is very good, and I believe that. But Kentucky just got a good look at Georgia. You know, playing good competition like that, I feel like that makes you better. They've been good at home this season. Solid run game. Here's the thing with Missouri. They're good. I backed them against K-State, their best win of the season. They've played 5 games at home, and their only road game is at Vandy. So I'm essentially here going to say Missouri's going to have to prove it to me that they can win a game on the road and back Kentucky here.
So, Julian, I had PTSD from playing Missouri last week. I mean, they were covering that number. They were playing great against LSU. Terrible pick 6 at the end.
I had LSU. I deserve a good beat every once in a while.
Yeah, that is true. So, good hit by you on that one. But I'm going to stick with Missouri because, again, the data is just screaming out to me that Missouri looks pretty sharp today. I mean, this game opened Kentucky -3. It's down to 2.5. Why is that half move notable? Well, one, it's off a key number of 3. But then also, you know, this is a public play toward Kentucky. They're getting 81% of bets. Yet, the fact that Missouri's only getting 19%, they're almost getting half the money, and the line is moving to Missouri. So that tells me you have some smart money on Mizzou. I don't like the fact that you missed the 3. It's down to 2.5. I don't know if you're going to get it back. If anything, it may get down to 2. You have an unranked first ranked opportunity, a dog who can score, put up points. The offense of Mizzou is better than Kentucky. And then a system I love, Julian, short road dog getting 4 points or less. That kind of tells you on a neutral site, it's a pick 'em type game. So I would have loved to get the 3. Obviously, we've got to play the number available to us now. I'll take the 2.5 on Mizzou. I like the sharp move.
All right, unlike Wazoo last week, that is an official bet by me on Kentucky, so we can actually run the tape back next week if I lose on Kentucky and say that I played it.
You win, but only by 2 or less. How about that? We'll all be happy.
I'll take that. All right, this game I like very much. UCLA at Oregon State. UCLA was one of those sharp plays last week. That is why I ultimately laid off of that game despite my love for Washington State. This time around, I love the spot for Oregon State. They've been a fantastic team at home for the past couple of years. We saw Utah come in there a couple of weeks ago on a Friday night, only score 7 points practically in garbage time. Now we have UCLA coming in on a Saturday night, riding high off of that win last week. Now they are a ranked team. Now they're supposed to be a little bit better, all because they got that win last week. You're going on the road to a really tough spot. Freshman quarterback. Oregon State, -3.5, one of my favorite plays here. Run the ball, control the game on defense.
So I'm going to take UCLA in the points here, Julian.
Oh, boy.
Notice the line move here. At least one of us will be happy when this game is over. But you open Oregon State laying as high as -4.5 at home. It was 4 just 24, 48 hours ago. Now it's down to 3.5. So this thing has consistently been dropping in favor of UCLA. Now, what I like about UCLA is they're only getting about 40% of bets, so they are in that contrarian spot. Again, if Oregon State's the popular play, and again, this is an 8 o'clock game tonight, it's going to be very heavily bet. If Oregon State and the Beavers are getting the public money, why is the line moving toward UCLA? Tells me you got some smart money on UCLA. I'll take the 3.5, Julian. Conference dog with that built-in familiarity. The short road dog, 4 or less system match, that's 54% ATS last 15 years. And again, neutral site, pick 'em type game based on the number. I'll take the points with the Bruins.
Good to notice short home favorites, a little bit of a trend for me today. Another one of my favorite plays of the day, Florida goes to South Carolina. This Florida team, not good away from the swamp. They play very well at home. They play very poorly on the road, and that goes back to last season and carries over to this season. They go to Utah at the beginning of the season, and they went to Kentucky this season. They lost those 2 road games by a combined 32 points. Now they're going to South Carolina, who is coming off of a bye, had 2 weeks to prep for this one. South Carolina is very well tested. They have played North Carolina away from home. They've played Georgia away from home. They've played Tennessee away from home. Now they're back for one of their biggest games of the season at home and get a Florida team that does not travel well. I really like South Carolina. Laid the -130 money line on them earlier in the week. Short favorites. I know you always like going money line as well. But are you with me on the side here, Josh?
Finally, we're together on this
All
one.
right.
We can sweat this one together as we're watching Pete Davidson and Saturday Night Live here
That won't be
tonight.
on any of my 4 TVs.
But I like this spot, and I think just a very simple reason to like South Carolina. You mentioned the bye week. There's a little bit of line movement in their favor. 1.5, 2. Inching maybe toward 2.5. But very simple. Why is a 2 and 3 team favored over a 4 and 2 team? That's one of the easiest, basic, kind of fishy scenarios to get behind. Tells me you got smart money here on South Carolina. I'll take the Gamecocks at home, and I'm with you on the money line.
All right, Texas A&M, Tennessee, not a game that I am betting today. I will be rooting for the Aggies as somebody with a Texas A&M over win total ticket and a Tennessee under win total ticket. Makes this one an easy one for me to have a side in, but nothing on the game. Tennessee laying 3 and looking ahead to Bama against the team that just lost to Bama.
Yeah, maybe a look-ahead spot where Tennessee gets, kind of caught here. I like Texas A&M. I'll take the points. This thing opened at 3.5. It's down to 3, and it's a really contrarian play. You're getting 70% of bets taking the Volunteers at home. However, only 30% on A&M, yet they're getting almost half the money, and the line is moving toward A&M. That's the most important factor here. So you would have loved to get the hook, the 3.5. Obviously, you lose by 3. You really want that hook. Really isn't available much anymore, but this would be system match unranked team versus a sell high ranked team. Buy low off a loss to Bama. Tennessee's won 2 straight, so again, that buy low sell high opportunity. And A&M's only giving up 84 yards on the ground in terms of rushing. Pretty good defense. I just hope that their QB, who's it, Brad Johnson's kid, the lefty, hopefully he can play decent today. I'll take the points here with A&M.
I will say real quick on that game, if you don't like Tennessee today, then maybe that number is going to grow next week against Alabama. If you like Alabama like I do, maybe you want to play one of those look-ahead spots. Lay it with Alabama now. I like Alabama at home next week. Big game in the ACC, UNC Miami. Could have been undefeated Miami, but they forgot how to take a knee while prepping for this UNC team. Miami's been getting bet. This number's coming down. I haven't bet this one yet. It was off of my card. You, I'm going to guess, are going to like Miami, and I'm going to say that the number is getting short enough where I am starting to consider adding UNC to my card. It's a different number now. This was a game early in the week that I was not going to play, but given where it's at now, I am warming up at under 3 there, 2.5. I am leaning towards UNC if I play this game, Josh.
I got to take Miami in this spot. I think there's a couple things going on.
Quick question before you even break it down.
Yeah.
Can you still take them, though, at 2.5 when 3, 3.5, 4, 4.5 available during the week?
So it's a great point. Around these key numbers, you got to get, obviously, the best number you can. Could be difference between a win and a loss. I would kind of give a cop-out answer and say it's a 7:30 game. Wait it out. 2.5
Right.
could get up to 3, so the market might do you a favor here just regardless. And I don't love buying points, Julian, but if you're 2.5 really juiced up in favor of North Carolina, where it's like plus 2.5 at even money on Miami, you could buy it up and get the 3. So to your point, definitely want the 3 in this one. I think it's just a buy low spot. Cristobal's getting hammered, deservedly so, in the media. Made a huge mistake there, not kneeling the ball. But I kind of like the fact that everyone is thinking he's terrible and North Carolina will roll, yet the line's moving toward Miami. That was 3.5, as you mentioned, down all the way to 2.5. So I'll wait, shop around, buy the point, give me the 3 on Miami. It just looks so gross that I think there's something behind this move.
For me, it's an interesting conversation. For me, you mentioned the term buy low. It's a buy low spot if UNC's 4.5, and then because of the dumb decision, I'll just say it, by Miami last week, it goes up to like 6, and then okay, now we're buying low on Miami. With it going the other way, I'm almost thinking it's buy low on UNC, but that's a debate to be had, like with the way the numbers moving, given what happened with these teams last week. All right, another game, nothing for me on this one. I did have Texas Tech at Baylor last week in like a pick'em type of game. I really like that spot. Texas Tech looked good. They have K-State this week. What do you got on this one, Josh?
I like Texas Tech. I was with you last week on Texas Tech. They rolled for us, so that was a nice hit. I'm going back to the well with the Red Raiders here. This was kind of not a dog to fave line move, but it was basically like a pick 'em, a -1 all week, and all liability all week has been on Texas Tech. They're up to 1.5. This thing never got down to a pick. It never flipped to Kansas State. It's always stayed, line movement wise in favor of Texas Tech here. They have a pretty good bet split. They're only getting like half the bets, like 54% of bets, but almost 70% of the money. So again, theoretically, bets are split. Line really shouldn't move at all. Yet it's creeping up at least a half point toward the Red Raiders. Home field advantage could come into play here. Tech is 2-1 in conference play. I'm going to take Texas Tech on the money line here, Julian.
All right, real quick, we just got a minute left. Let's try and squeeze both these ACC if we can. We probably won't. Virginia Tech, Wake Forest. I'm leaning Virginia Tech in this one, Josh.
I'm with you. Dog to fave, 40% bet, 70% money. Why is a 2-4 team favored over a 3-2 team?
I do want to squeeze this one because it's gross. Louisville just beat Notre Dame. Pitt absolutely stinks. They're off a bye week. They're making a QB change. At +7.5, this is going to be Pitt or pass for me.
I'm with you. Open at 9, down to 7.5. Only 29% bets. I think Pitt's pretty sharp today.
That's how you...
Order! All rise for the Honorable Judge Bukes.
Judge Bukes, I'm sitting back down.
With his girthy gavel in hand, which bets he's locking up, which bets he will set free. Coming up
This guy
next.
looks ridiculous.
So I don't know if you know this or not, but breaking news, the Sweat is the furthest thing from a judgment-free zone that you can find.
Wow.
So right now, that's right, the Honorable Judge Bukes is in the house, ladies and gentlemen, because he is here to judge some of Julian and Josh's favorite bets that they will dish out right now. And Judge Bukes will either sentence them to a painful stay in the betting slammer or set them free to roam the streets and your betting cards. So an MLB bet from you right now, please present your case to Judge Bukes.
I'm listening.
All right, well, I did happen to catch the MLB segment earlier. Steve is a Phillies fan.
So you've done your homework. Great.
Nope. I bet this one before the MLB segment. I like the Phillies in this series. The MLB playoffs up for, a lot of discussion with this time off and the better teams getting knocked off. I have I'm not a baseball guy. I have like 3 solutions. I can fix this easily, but that's not for this segment. What I will say is that this round is where the better team, the rust is knocked off everybody. Everybody's playing with momentum. The better teams are going to start to come through. And the Phillies are the better team over the Arizona Diamondbacks. Minus 170 is a little steep for me for the series. I like Wheeler matched up against Gallen. Wheeler's been nails. Gallen has not been very good on the road this season. Phillies game 1 series double result plus 110. If the Phillies are going to win this series, they're going to keep rolling at home. Steve is nodding. He really likes this. The Phillies are going to keep rolling at home and then go on to win the series. Just knock them down from minus 170 to plus 110 to do so.
Your Honor.
Well, here's what I will say to you, that you are a total fraud because you said, basically, you outed yourself immediately, saying, I listened to the MLB segment, so I know that everything you just said is not an original thought. So I
You didn't mention that bet.
I did not mention that bet, but you said, I know Steve likes the Phillies, so you're just trying to play up to me in the court of law. So I will say that is a good bet. Zach Gallen on the road, 4.42 ERA, 3.13 FIP, WOBA, 15 home runs allowed, not great on the road. Philly's not a place you want to go play. I do like the Phillies to win game 1, and then I do like them to win. So I do agree with your bet, but I know for a fact you never would have come up with that yourself if I hadn't had that MLB segment earlier in the show.
I'll show you the ticket from like 2 days ago.
Fine.
Josh, would you like to present your Major League Baseball case?
Yeah, I'm going to suck up to the judge here. That's what
Yeah,
Emerson,
you
if you're on
would.
trial,
I
this is
just
what you
tried.
need
It
to
didn't
do.
work.
Look at the way I approach this. No betting systems. I'm just going to go off
thank
of
Christ.
what I'm seeing on the field as a baseball fan and also as a Red Sox fan that is annoyed and mad that Dave Dombrowski was let go and then he just signs big free agent deals. What a novel concept, a big market team spending money in a market that loves baseball and trying to win. So I'll take the plus 210 here. Game 1, they've already had a line move against Arizona. They're as low as like minus 150, creeping up toward minus 170. And if you look at their starting pitching, I mean, it's been unbelievable. Steve has hit on it, but if you look at Wheeler, Nola, Ranger Suarez, all these guys have like a 1 ERA so far through the postseason. The added bonus of, losing in last year's World Series, I think that's a motivating factor here. So I like obviously the character, the grit, the personality of this team, and that ballpark is just absolutely electric. So plus 210, Steve, I know you're with me. You got to be with me, Judge.
Did it work?
Well, here we go. The first ruling.
He actually stole a bet from you. I came up with my own.
That's what I'm going to say. The first ruling.
Order.
Disqualified?
We got 2 absolute frauds as analysts for this segment. They just took what I said in the first segment and they just regurgitated it as their own. So congratulations, we have 2 people that paid attention to my insight in our number 1 of the Sweat on VSiN DraftKings Network. They watched my segment here, took what I said, made it their own. Congratulations, you 2 are both guilty of being frauds.
I made it my own. Josh stole the bet.
Well, we had to submit this like 3 days ago, so
Lock
we overlapped,
them
right?
up.
I don't know.
Lock them up. Thank you, Your Honor. Okay, let's go to the NFL. Most bet award winner post week 5, Brock Purdy.
Okay.
Up to, now plus 600 on the DraftKings Sportsbook. He's the most bet player. Should you be locked up if you're making this bet?
Should I
Go
be
ahead,
speaking?
please.
Yes,
I'm not giving the bets.
Yes, you should be locked up if you're making this bet at plus 600 at plus 700. Brock Purdy was available at 50 to 1 not too long ago. If you want to make that bet, fine. if you're going to make it at 6-1, 7-1, I can't get behind it. Not just because you're getting bad value a few weeks later, but because Brock Purdy needs so much to make this happen. Brock Purdy is steering the ship of, a fully loaded offense with maybe the best defense in the NFL, the best ball carriers in the NFL. So, not to discredit Brock Purdy, but he's going to have some really big numbers like he did in the last game over and over again, all while guys like your Patrick Mahomes, your Josh Allens, your Jalen Hurts, your guys that are more spectacular, more talented players than Brock Purdy are either losing games or not putting up big numbers or getting hurt. Other guys are going to have to lose the award while Brock Purdy keeps winning and putting up big numbers that aren't necessarily in his wheelhouse. So I just don't see it all coming together for him to actually win. If you want to have 50-1, bet some other guys hedge it up, go for it.
So that's a peasant's take. I need an official, Judge Bukes. Will you be locking up individuals who are betting Brock Purdy to win MVP currently at plus 600 odds on the DK Sportsbook?
I am locking up all individuals who betting an MVP as we head into week 6 of the NFL season. Too much can change. Too much can happen between now and January for us to have a bona fide winner. And I would say the odds that you're getting on Tua and Mahomes, plus 475, not a great play right now. Why is Mahomes tied with Tua, by the way, to be the MVP? Would you say that Patrick Mahomes is playing like an MVP-type player right now? I would say, not at all.
No, sir, Your Honor.
So I would say that, yes, the value on Purdy has been long gone, and I don't think he should be in the top 4 at this point because of basically all he has to do is just check down to some of his guys and they do the rest. At this point, I think the MVP landscape is just a total mess right now. I want nothing to do with it at this point.
Josh, you got an NFL player prop here for Judge Bukes to judge, please.
Yeah, I'll say this one.
Yeah, player prop here. I'm going to Brock Purdy, but I'm not going to take him for MVP. Not for MVP, but I played it last week at cash, so I'm going right back to, Purdy to not throw an interception this weekend. It's a half pick under minus 195. It's a little bit pricey here, but I think Purdy knows his role here. Obviously, he's been great to start. What's he, 10-0 now as a starting quarterback in the NFL? But I think it's the game plan here. You're going up against P.J. Walker. There's no Deshaun Watson. I think they make this pretty conservative. Run the ball. Don't take chances. Don't screw the game up versus going out there and trying to win it. Now, he's been great this year. 9 touchdowns, no interceptions. To me, Purdy's a guy that, again, I think if you're kind of missing the boat here, as Julian mentioned, 50-1 down to plus 600 MVP. But let's just look at this weekend. I like him to not throw a pick under a half pick at minus 195. Judge, what do you think? Is that number too pricey?
Pretty good.
Interesting play here. Because I think it would be fair to say this is the best defensive team that the 49ers have played so far this season. If you look at the teams that they played against, Steelers, Rams, Giants, Cardinals, and then Cowboys. Now, people might say, well, what about the Cowboys? Aren't they a good defensive team? We don't really know what the Cowboys were, and I think that they were kind of shown what they were last week against the 49ers. They hadn't played anybody since the 49ers. I would say that this is a little too pricey, Josh, and once again, you are guilty of being unoriginal. You are guilty of being black and white. Be a little more colorful, please.
What if I risk 100 to get $50 and I buy us all lunch? Would then that make me a winner?
You wouldn't do that.
Lunch
You're not that
is
type of guy.
anything.
You're not
That'd be
that
pretty
type
good,
of
right?
guy.
Free him.
You know why?
Free me! Let me go!
You know why I know you wouldn't do that? Because you are the first one to leave after the show. So you say, I'm going to go pick up lunch, and you'd be gone.
Got a wife and a dog to get to.
That the lunch would never show up here.
I understand that. I understand the wife and dog thing. Do you have a...
Steve and I both stay here forever after the show because we have kids.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. It's totally different between
I have
you
no
two.
comment on that.
Well, you got an NFL player prop that he can judge, please.
I do. Zay Flowers over 56.5 receiving yards. He's going up in the London game against the 23rd ranked Titans pass defense. Elite run defense, poor pass defense. So I expect the Ravens to be throwing the ball. They're getting a lot of linemen back this week to protect Lamar Jackson, get more into that offense. But this is more about how Zay Flowers has evolved. Twice in the first 3 NFL games, he saw an average depth of target of 3.5 yards per game or less. He still somehow managed plenty of production in those games, 78, 62, and 48 yards in those games. But the last couple of weeks, week 4, 13.3 yards average depth of target. Week 5, 16.7 yards average depth of target. Flowers has gone over 55 yards in 4 of his 5 games of his career. In the week he didn't go over, he caught 8 of 10 targets, just all really short routes. So the bump in ADOT, 28% target share against a poor pass defense. Zay Flowers, big day.
We have like 30 seconds to go, Judge Bukes. Do
You know
your
what?
thing.
I'm actually more shocked that Julian said the words ADOT, an average distance of target. I don't think I've ever
Depth.
heard him say those. What
I thought it
average
was
depth-
some kind of division.
Yeah, I've
of
never heard him say
transportation.
those words, so I feel like he got that from somebody else. So guilty once again of being
ADOT
a fraud. There's
ADOT
no
numbers.
Way, there is no way that Julian
That's-
Edelman came up with ADOT,
ADOT numbers,
by himself.
courtesy of Established the Run.
Hey, you know what? The sweat will be right back.
Wow!
I'm not on the field. I'm not on the
The NHL season is alive and well. It's cooking, and so are these two dudes, our fantasy gurus here. Jeff Ulrich of DraftKings, NHL.com's Pete Jensen. Good morning, gentlemen. Let's dive into some early takeaways here, shall we? How about Connor? Point per game, Bedard gets his first goal. Matthews with the hattie. Pasta. Jack Hughes, Kucherov with the couple. The Stars are off to a fantastic start here, Jeff. How good of a sign is this for fantasy purposes?
I mean, I think you just got to recognize the different situations around the league, right? Like who's getting off to the good start, which teams are potentially clicking here. I think it's a great sign that Austin Matthews bounced back quickly. I mean, things were looking bleak for their opener. He had a bit of a down year last year, but I mean, if Austin Matthews bounces back to 2021 form, he's going to be just an absolute every night must roster for DFS. And I think that the other situation that really caught my eye was Colorado. I mean, it wasn't shocking that they had a bit of a hangover last year, dealt with a little bit of injury issues, but you mentioned Rantanen. I mean, 4 points. I think that Colorado just, destroying the LA Kings, who people pegged as a solid team. They upgraded in goal a little bit over the offseason. I think it's a good sign for them. I think Colorado could be just in another spot where this could just be a nightly occurrence. So those are the two places that really stuck out to me the most. Seeing Toronto and Colorado potentially just, it's not like they had terrible years last year, but again, really bounced back to just being like the top teams kind of in their conference or divisions at the very least. And really just their top stars being potentially must rosters every night.
Hey, Pete, Connor Bedard just 893 goals away now from catching the great one.
He's well on his way, right? And he's bringing Ryan Donato along for the ride. That guy has a previous career high of 16 goals. I mean, he might double that if he sticks with Bedard for the whole season. So that's somebody I'm looking out for, DFS season long, as kind of a by association pickup as a result of how good Connor Bedard is immediately. But yeah, you mentioned Jake Ottinger. I liked how Dallas, who I consider a cup contender, a top 5 cup contender, they were without their top center, Roope Hintz, last night. It didn't matter. He put the clamps down, and we have him projected to lead the NHL in wins with 40. So he tacked one on in his first opportunity there.
Brock Besser with 4 goals as the Canucks smash your Oilers in game 1 of the season here. Vancouver already ordering its Stanley Cup rings, right? What's your level of concern for Edmonton here, man? This is ridiculous. A preseason Stanley Cup favorite for a lot of people. A pick to hoist Lord Stanley.
It's preposterous. Let's just kick the Oilers out of the league. I mean, like, it's obviously one game. Let's not get carried away. The nice thing for fantasy is, I mean, like, if the Oilers goaltending does continue to just suck, and I mean, like, let's be honest. I mean, this goaltending issue for Edmonton has gone back to the playoffs. I mean, obviously they had a lot of issues just in terms of goaltending then, and then Jack Campbell obviously stinking up the joint in game 1 as well after having a good preseason. One of these guys doesn't get it together, potentially like that could ruin their year, or at least the start of their year. But for fantasy, we don't really need to worry about this. This may even be a good thing. It just means more shootouts for Connor McDavid. The offense isn't a concern. I mean, we know what the Oilers' offense is. At some point, this power play is absolutely going to destroy teams. It'll probably destroy Vancouver in the second game of this back-to-back, or home and home, I should say. So no real alarm bells for the Edmonton Oilers for fantasy. In real-life purposes, yeah, this is a situation I would monitor. Like I said, the Oilers lost in the playoffs last year. Not all because of their goaltending, but it was a big factor. And if they don't get it figured out, I do think it's going to affect where they end up in the standings this year.
Pete, Oilers and Canucks fans were brawling in the stands. What could hamper this team and its fantasy potential moving forward?
So for Vancouver, it was a really good sign because Thatcher Demko, before he left with the illness, looked really good. He battled through that. Philip Hronik, 2 assists. I really like the element he brings. They acquired him last year. He was a little banged up, but overall, when those 2 guys are healthy, Vancouver is a potential playoff team with just as much offense as a team like Edmonton. And Edmonton has its issue. To me, the defense in front of those goaltenders didn't come to play the other day. Matthias Ekholm is the linchpin of that unit. He was out with an injury, a hip injury. He was dealing with that in the preseason. That is what I'm looking at. If they don't have Matthias Ekholm, I don't think they're making a deep playoff run this year like they have in recent years. And then, yeah, I mean, they're going to need to work in as well. Like Evander Kane was -4 in that game. Evan Bouchard was -3. Evan Bouchard, I'm really high on him offensively, but he's got to pick up his game defensively without question. He did have an assist and 5 shots on goal, so still a DFS darling, no doubt about it, but the plus-minus will kill you if it continues in season-long formats.
Hey, Pete, what other DFS takeaways do you have here from the first week of the NHL season? Anything good, anything bad, alarming, not alarming?
The rookie class is super deep, so just keep riding these guys. Adam Fantilli, assist in his debut. Connor Bedard, points in each of his first 2 games, like we mentioned. Matthew Poitras, Boston Bruins. We all know Patrice Bergeron and David Krejci aren't there anymore. You know, step in the young kid, and he delivered early with an assist in his first game. So, yeah, I just feel like this rookie class is loaded, and you're going to be able to find some good value in DFS, at least early on in the season before everything corrects itself and catches up.
I mean, I definitely agree on the rookies. I mean, I think that Fantilli, Bedard, and we see Logan Cooley of the Coyotes obviously as well. I think these guys are just going to be actually pretty reliable for fantasy purposes. I mean, they're in really good spots. You look at the teams that they're on. I mean, they're not going to not play these guys because they just don't have a ton of depth at the position. So they're going to get a lot of ice time. They're going to be involved in games where potentially high scoring as well. Good situations. Obviously, Pete mentioned they all got off to good starts. And I think for even rookie of the year betting as well, just taking it to the other side, I mean, the centers just seem to be in such a better position. We talked about this a little bit before preseason, but Devin Levi, it's a tough spot. Buffalo's not a good defensive team. It's a tough spot to ask a young goalie to just come in and dominate. I don't really like his chances. Luke Hughes played 17 minutes in the first game for the Devils. I really think these centers are going to be where it's at for rookie of the year betting. So for fantasy, certainly you want to keep on them. And then, I mean, just another team that will throw out. I mean, I do think that the offensive potential for the Detroit Red Wings is going to be really good. Dylan Larkin, Alex DeBrincat, obviously kind of clicking for a goal in the first game. They played the Devils too. So, I mean, they lost, but that may have gone a little bit under the radar. I think that's going to be a really good first line. And especially when you get them up against weaker opponents, those 2 guys could go for some big fantasy nights.
So Buffalo, I believe, is in New York to face the Islanders tonight. Which game will we see goals? Which one is in a good spot here to present us with maybe some potential stacks in DFS?
Yeah, no, I mean, obviously going up against Buffalo, not a poor idea at all. I mean, the Islanders offense, a little bit tricky to target. I would be more inclined to potentially go to the other New York team with the Rangers taking on the Columbus Blue Jackets. The Rangers just thumped Buffalo, obviously, but I mean, this is potentially a better matchup for them. And the Rangers offense is one that I think this year is going to be, again, especially in these softer matchups, a great one to target. So, looking to stack that Rangers top line. Chris Kreider, obviously, on the power play. You can pair him with Adam Fox. I really like just looking to the Rangers power play one. And I think another one that jumps out, it's an early game, but the Ottawa offense against the Philadelphia Flyers is good. And I also like the Blackhawks versus, the Montreal Canadiens. I mean, a couple of younger teams there. Obviously, you could target Bedard, but I think that the Montreal Canadiens offense and top line is in a really good spot there as well. They scored 5 goals in the first game, obviously lost, but I actually would prefer to look at some of the Canadiens players in that game over the Blackhawks.
Which game are you really targeting here for DFS points tonight, Pete?
So I'll look at that Colorado-San Jose game. I feel like, Colorado in that type of a matchup with their depth this year compared to last year could score 6 or 7 on their own. Not to harp too much on the Sharks, but they may very well be the worst team in the league by a decent margin this year. I didn't really like what I saw from them. 5 forwards on power play 1, a little wacky, but that's because they don't have many defensemen that can do it. So they're working with what they have here. The defense and the goaltending on the Sharks is pretty rough. So try to stack a couple of Avalanche guys like, Arturi Lehkonen, Val Nichushkin, Jonathan Drouin playing a bit up top with McKinnon and Rantanen. You got to love that placement. He had an assist in his first game of the season and lit it up with the helpers in the preseason as well. So kind of a reclamation project there, but with how deep that defense is, try to get maybe 2 or 3 Avs into your lineup for that lopsided matchup.
All right, Pete, Oilers get another shot at the Canucks, too. A little revenge game. Where does Draisaitl and McDavid sit in your rankings?
Yeah, I mean, the bounce back appeal is obvious, especially if Ekholm plays. Keep an eye on that. Like I said, Connor Brown, look for him to make an impact after, trying to work out the kinks a little bit in the first game. He's dealt with a lot of injuries in recent years, but he has that past chemistry with McDavid from the junior days. And yeah, I feel like guys like Zach Hyman, shots on goal machine. If he puts in a goal, he'll be well worth the price of admission. Zach Hyman for Edmonton, regardless of where he's playing. And I'll go back to the even with Evan Bouchard, just because he's going to be on power play 1 all season long for Edmonton.
Jeff Ulrich, Godspeed to you, Jeff. Godspeed to your boys in Edmonton tonight. Pete, thanks for your help as well. We are wrapping up the show, coming up after our final break with some NFL high or low. Stick with us. Hey, welcome back to The Sweat, everybody. Another great episode of Unreasonable Odds. It's available on all podcasting platforms. We're on camera. Pay attention. Here's our Hall
firing
of
off a bet.
Okay, here's our Hall of Famer, Director of Sportsbook Operations, Johnny Avello, with this guy, Jules,
On my podcast.
Earlier in the week. They have a podcast.
I do.
I want to ask you about the Jags because they are in one of the most unique spots I have seen betting the NFL. Most teams, you go to London, maybe you come for a week, you come back, maybe you have a bye, maybe you don't. This team just played 2 straight games in London, won and covered both of them. That's almost their second home field at this point. They return home without a bye after the long trip to London, play a divisional game against the Colts. They're home favorites, which Trevor Lawrence, by the way, 0-5 against the spread as a home favorite in his career. And then not only that, they go on a short week after it to play the Saints on Thursday Night Football. This schedule is starting to look a little brutal coming up for the Jags. Does anything go into setting the numbers for the Colts game and then the Saints game when you consider this is the first time a team has done this?
What's wrong with a 2-week vacation in London? I mean,
You got to come home and play the Colts, and you're going to be jet-lagged and hungover.
We opened them a 6-point favorite at home this week with the Colts not having Anthony Richardson, and the bettors have knocked this down to 4. For that Thursday night contest at New Orleans next week, we put up those look-ahead lines. Jags 1.5 was the opener. Now it's down to pick. So the bettors are also thinking these are unique spots. So, it's sometimes the NFL does kind of throw this, this kind of schedule at you. You have to deal with it. But it's for bettors to pick up and see if there's something there that's advantageous to them.
All right, Joel. So Johnny just saying bettors are on the Colts there, like moving the line from 6. Jags are back in Jacksonville after a couple weeks across the pond in London. Is 4 too high or too low as we kick off our NFL high or low segment here?
This number is too low. I think it should be more like a 3. Mentioned the spot in the podcast. It's unheard of. I got it at plus 4.5 for Indy, so I like it at 4. Just, I'm taking the football out of it, really, but it's a divisional matchup, and you heard the numbers there on Trevor Lawrence as a home favorite. A lot of travel here for the Jags. 2 weeks in London's never been done. You got to come home, play this divisional game against a Colts team you beat earlier in the year. Yep. I like plus 4 for the Jags, and I have gone ahead. This was not the bet that I was firing off before the segment, but I've gone ahead and bet the Saints on Thursday Night Football. Jags somehow have a short week after this game and going to New Orleans. I'm going back-to-back Jag fades here. All for you, buddy.
Don't touch me.
You touch me all the time.
First off, stop. Steve, the Jaguars pulled away from the Colts. I believe it was in the 4th quarter last time. This is the 4th division game in 6 weeks for Indianapolis, though.
I do like the Jags here. Like I think we're just kind of overstating like the travel and everything. It's not like they're pulling in tonight or tomorrow or something. Like they've already been back in Jacksonville.
Doesn't get it.
I get it.
I just think we're putting too much stock into this because at the end of the day, if this was a neutral playing field, we're talking about on a normal week or whatever, I think the Jags would be favored in this spot here. The Colts are not a good team defensively at all. I mean, really, both teams you can throw against both of them here. So who is better suited to win that battle through the air? I think it's Jacksonville at this point. I know Zay Jones likely not going to be playing in this game here. I think he's already been ruled out here. But, Gardner Minshew playing for the Colts.
Yeah, he's been
fine. He's been fine. But this offense is not built for a pass-first offense. And I think that's where it's just going to end up coming back to bite the Colts really after this game. I think it's going to be a really tough sledding for the Colts overall. But I think this is I think it's a fine spot to back the Jags in this game.
All right, so Gardner Minshew is going to slide in under center for Indianapolis. Philip P.J. Walker will take over under center for the Browns, who are 10-point underdogs at home against the 49ers. So this one opened at 2.5 Jules, moved all the way through 5.5 and 7.5 with Deshaun Watson being ruled out here. Is this still too low, though? This spread, this 10-point spread, considering San Francisco has crushed opponents by an average of nearly 20 points a game?
Probably is too low, but you can't bet it at this point because there's been way better numbers available all week. I've been betting the Niners on the look ahead every week because I think they're still undervalued in the market despite how being priced to win the Super Bowl or as the Super Bowl favorite. That got me them, laying 3 against Dallas. It got me them laying 3 against the Browns in this spot. So the only thing that I'll add is if this went from 3 to 10, are we saying Deshaun Watson is worth 7 points right now?
No.
Because I don't think so. The issue is the backups in DTR, who we saw play the last game against Baltimore, did absolutely nothing. Now they go to PJ Walker, a little more experienced, but not much there. They are big drop-offs, but Deshaun Watson isn't worth 7 points over anyone right now. So that kind of confuses me a little bit, but at the same time, I just want no part here. The Niners should roll in this game.
All right, Steve, too high or too low this spread. Let's not sleep on Cleveland's defense, though, as well. Last 15 points a game, 196 yards per game. You really got to think like Jim Schwartz and company are going to bring that pressure against Brock Purdy.
But you see that in the total, right? I mean, this game totals at 36.5.
Damn.
So the problem is, and I'm with Julian here, it's like you have had so many opportunities during the week to back the Niners because we've seen this at so many different numbers already. I can't fathom or can't justify sitting here on a Saturday morning and going, okay, now is the time for me to back the 49ers. I'm going to take them at -10. Do I think they're going to win? Yes. Do I think they'll still end up covering this -10? Most likely. I think it's a strong spot here for the Niners overall. But in terms of getting that closing line value and taking it in the moment, you're not getting a good spot here at -10. So I actually wouldn't be shocked. Would you be shocked if this came down closer to kickoff? Under 10 points?
Maybe 9.5. Maybe some sharp money. And is it people taking the Browns +10, or is it all the buyback to try and get that middle on people that have the good numbers on the Niners?
So my point was going to be, and this is why I threw it to you here, if you are looking to play this, I would check again closer to kickoff because I do think that there is a possibility this comes back down maybe to 9.5 or 9. So am I taking it now? No. But do I think that the 49ers are going to win and cover? Yes.
Yeah, lowest total.
Just follow us on Twitter when I put this play out on Tuesday.
Yeah, absolutely. Follow me on Twitter as well if you like pictures of dogs. 36.5 lowest total on the board. Next closest is 42. That's shared by a handful of games, including Ravens at the Titans here. Passing prop, by the way, when we're talking too high, too low, Lamar Jackson, 224.5. He's only hit that twice this year. Let's go back to Brock Purdy. That's up to 207.5 against Cleveland. He's gone over that number every game this season. On the flip side, Burrow's total, 274.5. He's hit that once this year. Which one seems a little off, Steve?
I think Zach Wilson at 198.5 is too high going up against the Eagles. That Eagles defensive line is going to eat him alive this week. No Jalen Carter, but they are getting back Fletcher Cox. He's expected to return for this game. When you look at the numbers for Zach Wilson when he's been under pressure so far this season, which has really been 5 snaps into the season, 43% of his dropbacks he's been under pressure, 4.4 yards per attempt, 1 interception, 0 touchdowns thrown, and just a 41% completion percentage. He is going to have so much pressure in his face all throughout this game. I would not be shocked if he ends up at 150, 160 or something like that. For him to get over just under 200 yards against this Eagles defense feels like a real stretch to me. I know he had that one good game last week, kind of came back down to earth 2 weeks ago he had that good game, came back to earth last week. I think this is going to be another typical Zach Wilson game. I think 198.5 is too high.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy, Jules. He's completed, Zach Wilson, 72.3% of his passes the last 2 weeks. So will he keep it competitive here?
I'm going to go to, we were just talking PJ Walker. I don't know if I've seen a number this low.
What do you got?
165.5.
That's crazy.
On PJ Walker against the 49ers.
That's like a halftime prop.
We're talking whole game here. This isn't just a first half.
I'm staying away. But I will go to Monday Night Football for one that I think is too low, and it's a higher number, and that's Dak Prescott at 256.5. Big number, but you're going up against the last ranked pass defense in terms of yards allowed in the Chargers in the NFL. You're coming off the embarrassment of last Sunday night primetime against that Niners defense. I think I like Dallas a lot on Monday night, and I think that passing prop is a little too low for Prescott. I think we should see a pretty big game for Dallas through the air on Monday Night Football.
Well, tomorrow on a Sunday edition of The Sweat, we are going to dive deep into all of the odds and bets and numbers on the DK Sportsbook for this NFL slate, including you versus Josh. We'll see all systems go there. I cannot wait to see how miserable you are during that segment when he talks about spreads with wind speeds north of 10 miles per hour and under that. I think you will be here as well.
I'm here
tomorrow. Awesome. Love it. Let's do it. Thanks everyone for hanging out with us on the Saturday morning. Enjoy the rest of your day. We'll see you tomorrow.